everybody put our thoughts together. Seeing now our friend, human as us, our mentor, our guide, Jesus Christ, bringing to all of us experience that he has lived on earth next to us, so we can develop by ourselves, using our own free will, the force and the only force that sustains us all on this universe, the force of love. Jesus, our friend, our brother, help us through the family, the foundation where we need to live so we can develop love. Help us to live true forgiveness so we can feel every moment of our life without hate and true love. Because only love would bring us to happiness. Happiness is the kingdom of God, which we all seek happiness in our lives. Bless us with your light, especially today, our friend Yuri, that from Florida is bringing his studies and his work on this blessed day, day of the family. So, Yuri, very welcome. Thank you so much for being here today with us. Thank you for your time and for your dedication, spreading the word and spreading your studies with us here today. And I think...
Yeah, I'd like to just read very quickly here some words about Yuri. So I'm sure everybody knows you, but you have a great work online, and we've been sharing your Instagram and everything, your podcast with the group. So I'm sure they already heard something about you. But I would like to just read quickly here. So Yuri is a doctor of clinical psychology, licensed in Florida, where he has been living since 2013. In Spiritism, he's a volunteer worker at the Conscious Living Spiritist Group in North Miami, Florida. He also serves as the marketing director for the United States Spiritist Federation. Moreover, Yuri has a Spiritist podcast on YouTube and Spotify called Spiritist Companion in English and Companheiro Espírita in Portuguese. So I'm sure you guys already had the quick time to go and look at the content, but the content is awesome. So I would say if you're not following him, you have to start following him. So now it's with you, Yuri. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning from Florida. I hope Ohio is a little less hot than here right now. But it's such an honor and a pleasure to be able to be here, to be able to talk about Spiritism, to spread all the amazing things that we have in the Spiritist movement that already, pretty soon it's going to be 200 years since the codification by Allan Kardec. So it's very nice and always good to connect with people, from other states, to get to know also people who are enthusiastic about Spiritism. And the topic of today that I wanted to bring, especially because it's Father's Day today, so happy Father's Day to all those fathers and all those who have the fatherly role perhaps in someone's life. So happy Father's Day to everyone. And we're going to be talking about honoring your parents, which is one of the things that we know so well from the Bible. So I'm gonna share. I have some slides here because I like to use in my lectures and talks, I like to use visuals usually, so we can see things together. I think visuals, they help convey a message as well, and I like to bring the text as is. So that's why I want to share some slides. So let me know, Marcio, if you guys are able to see my slides. Give me a thumbs up.
Okay. Now That was
Um,
good, Yuri.
amazing, amazing. So you see, like honoring our parents, giving some love there, and the idea of honoring our parents. First, we saw that we have two passages in the Bible, even in the older Old Testament and all of that, where we have Exodus, where it says, "Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you." And very similarly, we have also this other passage that says, "Honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you," which is a very powerful word, to command us to do something, "so that you may live long and that it may go well with you in the land the Lord your God is giving you." So the second one is a little longer, interestingly, and it's telling us that we have been commanded to do that, and there is a consequence to honoring our parents, to honoring father and mother, which it says, "so that you may live long." That's the number one. So they're talking about long lives. And the second one is that it may go well with you in the land that is not ours. It's the land that the Lord our God is giving us. Interestingly, this idea of honoring father and mother, as we see here, relates to some sort of reward, because we can live long and we can live well. Basically, that's what they're telling us here. We have this notion that this earthly, life as a recompense and not heavenly life in here, because back then when these things were spoken and written down and passed down generation to generation, there was not this idea of, or at least not as fleshed out as we have right now with Spiritism, this idea of a future life, this idea of the spiritual life. So everything revolved around their present life, their current life, and by consequence, the life that they had in that moment. So by honoring a person's father and the person honoring their father and their mother, they would live long and they would live well. And that's why we have in Judaic traditions and other traditions as well, in other religions, this very strong notion or idea that we must respect our father and mother. We must honor them by doing well by their names, by treating them well, by doing all these things so we may live well. So we see that very strongly, like I said, in the Judaic tradition, and even nowadays. And interestingly, in my professional life, one of my clinics is in an area that's 80% Jewish, so I do have a lot of Jewish patients, and I get to see their culture and everything, that like how they follow these things, and it's very, for me to see it with other eyes now with Spiritism, is very interesting. But the notion that family was this very strong bond, this thing that we must honor. So that's why the word honor itself is very strong. But they're saying that we were commended by God to honor our parents. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about specifically that, honoring our parents, especially today, Father's Day. So there's an even added, I guess, a bonus to that notion. But before we talk about family, I like to bring it to a more macro level and talk about society. Because if we think of the family is within the family unit is within the context of a larger society. And then for that, I'm going to bring us to the Spirits book, particularly question 774 of the Spirits book, where they're going to ask the spirits whether the family ties, or the family that the ties that we see among families compared to animals are merely social customs and not a law of nature. Meaning the ties that we see that humans form and they call families, this is my mother, this is my father, these are my siblings, these are my children, I'm their father. Are these only through social ties, or what's the difference between those ties and animals' ties? And they're going to say there is in man something more than physical wants. There is the necessity of progressing. Social ties are necessary to progress, and social ties are drawn closer by family ties. That's why I said going from the macro to the micro. Macro is in societal ties, going to the family ties. For this reason, family ties are a law of nature. God has willed that men should learn through them to love one another and in my translation says brothers, but of course brothers, sisters, siblings in general. And this idea here that there is the social ties that are important, and we have the family ties which are closer than social ties in general. So that's why I said from the macro to the micro. And the social ties are drawn closer by family ties because we all need to progress. Therefore, there is a law of society, and we have that in the Spirit's book, more than 10 different laws, the other types of law, but this one specifically, the law of society, which again translates to this idea that we must live within a family context. Otherwise we would be like animals that a lot of the times we see that in the animal kingdom where, let's say, the baby is born and the mother already abandons them, or the father, whoever, like, abandons them or even eats them, or there's more this predatory sense. We don't have that in humans. In humans we have these family ties, the reproduction, and all those things that occur that are there for a reason, for us to draw us closer together. And then the following question, or the subsequent question, 775, they're going to say, well, what would be the effect then upon society of the relaxation of family ties? And they're going to say a relapse into selfishness. So if the family ties are by nature, a law of nature, something that God wants us to have and gave us the opportunity to have, what would be the consequence of the relaxation of these family ties? A relapse into selfishness. Interestingly, the word relapse brings us almost to we usually use that in substance use cases. Relapse into this, a relapse into that substance, or relapse into a habit. And if we look at selfishness here, we can even think of how selfishness, and we learn this in Spiritism, along with pride, are the two scourges of our moral progress. The two biggest obstacles, we had that as a question in the Spirit's book as well. The two biggest obstacles to our moral progress as humans are selfishness and pride. So the relaxation of family ties would be a relapse into one of those two. One of the two scourges of our moral development, selfishness. Because if we do have the relaxation of family ties, and we can even expand here, what would that mean for the individual? That would mean that the individual is living by their own, for themselves, and that's it. Everything is me, whenever I want, however I want. I don't care about anybody. I don't want to share with anybody. I don't want to do anything with anybody. Only me. Selfishness. That's what it is. So the relaxation of family ties is something that is very, very serious. And it's something that we must try to avoid at all costs. Otherwise, we go back into selfishness or selfish behaviors. And the question 204 of the Spirit's book says, as we have had many existences, do our relationships extend beyond our present existence? Now this is going back a little bit in the Spirit's book, more towards the beginning, where we are learning that we have an immortal soul, we are immortal spirits, and we have had different corporeal existences. So they're saying, okay, if we have had different corporeal existences, does that mean we had other family members before? Does that mean we may have been connected to these other family members in previous lives, but through different bodies, or when we were inhabiting different bodies? And they're going to say it cannot be otherwise. The succession of their corporeal existences, the spirits, establish among spirits a variety of relationships which date back from their former existences. Most cases, there are some cases which I will comment later on, that spirits are strange to each other when they reincarnate, but we can say a good majority here is spirits that are somehow connected and have most likely lived before in different times. It could be a distant future or a near future, and now they're coming back, sometimes with the same labels as like father and son, mother, daughter, or sometimes different labels in that same family, but dating back to these family ties, which is, again, bring us to the idea of honoring our parents, of honoring the parents as something that is, you're honoring the spirits that are in that label in that moment. Because today I'm the father of my son. My next life, maybe one of my sons will be my father, and vice versa. Or maybe they have been already. I don't know. But the thing is, that's why we must always honor our parents, so we may honor the spirits and the labels that they have in this current life. And they're going to say, well, the doctrine of reincarnation appears to some minds to destroy family ties by carrying them back to periods anterior to our present existence. Why are they saying this? Because, and I have the ellipses there for the answer, because it's a long answer for question 204. Because they're going to say there that because we have had previous lives together, the majority, again, like I said, there are exceptions, we oftentimes reincarnate with people that have been antagonists to us, or people who we have had antagonistic ideas, not to say enemies, sometimes it's full-blown enemies, or people we have hurt badly in the past, and vice versa, and now we reincarnate together to learn to live, to learn to forgive, to learn to love, and to honor our family members. But the idea here is that at the end of that question, they're going to say that's why sometimes within the family you have antipathies and sympathies, as if you're not seeing them for the first time, because you're not. That's what they're saying. So they're going to say, okay, that's why the question 205 is there. This idea of reincarnation, that we may reincarnate with people who have been our enemies and or we have done so much harm to them and vice versa, this appears to destroy these family ties, because we're being put together in a place under the same roof of people who we have had trouble with. How is that possible? And they're going to say, no, it extends those ties, but it does not destroy them. It extends the ties because, and the spirits here are taking one step further in terms of comprehension. It extends those ties because we have to think of the immortal spirit. We have to think of the life of the spirit that has lived many lives before and will live many lives after this one, the current one that we are all in right now. All of you guys hearing me there? We're going to have other lives after this one, and we have had previous lives. So the idea of putting these people together under the same roof that have had, let's say, rough moments, to use an euphemism here, together in previous lives, extend the family ties, because now we're talking about the family as the spiritual unity, in the sense of we all come from the same creator. We all have the same Father, with capital F. Although God is Father, Mother, God is everything. But just using the same language that they used in the Bible and they use in the Spirit's book and Gospel and all of that, Father. We all have one Father. So my sons who are my sons right now, my parents who are my parents right now, deep down, we're all siblings. We're all brothers and sisters because we all have the same Father. So it extends the family ties, because by putting people together under the same roof that have had difficulties before, we're going to create and mend these bonds. And these bonds are going to make the family much tighter, much stronger, the real family. And I think that's a beautiful thing for us to realize and to try to internalize and also externalize through our actions. Now, the book Heaven and Earth, Between Heaven and Earth, is a book psychographed by Chico, and the author is André Luiz, has an amazing series of books. And in this specific one, they're going to talk about the family, and they're going to say the family is a microcosm of redemptive obligations in which we live to serve the greater family that comprises all humankind. That's what I was talking about. The greater family is all humankind, because again, we are all interconnected. We're all brothers and sisters. And they're going to talk about heredity in this book too. And they're going to say heredity is guided by spiritual principles. Nothing is by chance, period. If children find the parents they need, I love this sentence here. Parents, in turn, receive what they are looking for in their children. I'm going to say it again. If children find the parents they need, parents in turn receive what they are looking for in their children. Nothing happens by accident. Nobody is in the wrong address, as Chico Xavier liked to say. Nobody in the the reincarnation department. Nobody goes to the wrong address. Nobody reincarnates in the wrong family. Even though a lot of us may sometimes look and say, "Oh my God, what am I doing here? I have nothing in common with these people. I can't stand that person." Nothing happens by chance. Why? Because God is infinitely good, just, fair, loving, and merciful. Perfect in all his qualities. And if God is truly perfect, then he would make no mistakes. Unless we say, hey, I think God made a mistake in my case here. Well, then we're admitting a God that's fallible, therefore is not a God. It's not the God that we talk about in Spiritism. So it's interesting that even heredity is guided by spiritual principles, because as we see, in this whole series of André Luiz is great for this, for us to realize how much thought goes into reincarnation, even picking the family that we pick to reincarnate with certain physical traits that are necessary for our own progress. Sometimes through trials that we choose as spirits, sometimes through expiations or atonements that we must do. So we come with certain physical criteria that is guided by spiritual principles. So even that is interesting for us to sort of think about. And now, transitioning to the Gospel According to Spiritism, also a book by Allan Kardec, 1864. And they're going to talk about corporeal and spiritual relationship. So they're going to say blood ties do not necessarily create bonds between spirits. The body comes from the body, but the spirit does not proceed from the spirit, since the spirit already existed before the formation of the body. Back then in the Spirit's book, we have a lot of questions in that regard, where they're asking, do parents, question 203, do parents pass on a part of their souls to their children? They're going to say, no. The soul we are all created simple and ignorant is one of the answers. Simple because in terms of the element as being simple, one element, indivisible. We are indivisible. The spirit is indivisible. That's it. So we don't pass on our part of our spirit to our children, to our souls, as using the same terminology they use there. But we do pass a part of our bodies in terms of the genetic material. So that's why they're saying the body comes from the body. The soul, the spirit, does not proceed from the spirit because the spirit was already there. My sons are spirits that were already there before they became my sons and inhabited a body that is now there. So this is something that is interesting because it makes us think, okay, if the body comes from the body, we have the corporeal relationship or the blood ties, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there are spiritual ties there. Those incarnated in the same family, they're going to say further on, especially as close relations are often as often as not congenial. Look at that. Congenial spirits linked by past relationships, which express themselves during their earthly lives by their reciprocated affections. Beautiful, because a lot of the times we only talk about the negative piece, I think, or only the conflicts within the family, only the trouble, the problems, but we also have this. And it's important to realize that too. We also have this idea of spirits incarnating in the same family and being congenial spirits, being spirits that are in line with one another, that love one another, and they come together a lot of the times, one to help the other or both to help each other, help one another grow, progress, evolve. Because that's what we all do. The spirit is always progressing, always evolving. The difference is if we do it quick or if we do it slow, depending on our choices through our free will. But it's interesting that they mentioned this, and I'd really like to highlight this fact that it's not just tragedy and terrible things, and I'm surrounded by former enemies from former lives. No, it's not necessarily just that. Each case is unique. We have A lot of the time, spirits that are congenial spirits, and they are linked by past relationships, and they have these sympathies, they have this liking, mutual affection towards one another because of that. We also have, like I said, we also have spirits who have been, and we can even say enemies in previous lives. Could be a, like I said, could be a distant past, or could be not so distant, a near past, and now they incarnate together to mend those bonds, to learn forgiveness, as Jesus our master taught us. So we have congenial spirits, we have former enemies, but we also have something else. And they're gonna say, but it can also happen that these people are complete strangers to one another, or they may be distant from each other due to past aversions, which while on earth are translated into mutual antagonisms, which serve as probations. Yes, some people may read this and try to like and frown, maybe like, really? How's that? How is that like? So I may reincarnate with somebody that's a strange person to me. Yeah. Why? Because a lot of the times, and they're saying here, it may work as these probations or these mutual antagonisms may work as a trial for the spirit, because, and we can even think here, and there are examples in Spiritist literature about this, where spirits who held very, very strong religious beliefs or cultural beliefs, very deep-rooted beliefs, they may incarnate in the culture that was their enemy, or in the religious, places where they hated each other. So they may reincarnate there within that family, and they already come with this mutual antagonism, because let's say they spent 3, 4, 5 different reincarnations in that same religious place or the same cultural place, at war with their neighbors, and now they reincarnate on the other side of the border, and now they're there, and they may be strangers, but they go through these things to learn to love, to learn to forgive, to learn to see the other side, the other point of view. Again, nothing happens by chance. There are no accidents. There are no accidents. And the spiritual, the spirit mentors and the spirit department that exists for all reincarnation purposes plans these things out very, very meticulously, very wisely, so that they may use their opportunities wisely once they reincarnate. So that's why when we're thinking about parents, honoring our parents, we always think about that too, about this idea that we came here, physically speaking, because of somebody that gave us a part of their own corporeal material for us to reincarnate, that provided the encasement, the fleshly envelopment that houses our spirit. So we must be thankful for that. And they're gonna say, even the real family ties are not those of blood then, but those of mutual sympathy in the communion of ideas, which hold spirits together before, during, and after their incarnations. The real family ties are not those that are created by blood. Blood is a temporary tie. Rest assured. Who knows, decades later, that blood tie is gone. The corporeal tie itself is gone. What remains, though? The spiritual ties. And the spirits are together. They become closer when they hold these ideas, like they're saying, the sympathy and the communion of ideas, before, during their reincarnations, and after as well. Why after? Because we'll live after this life. We'll continue living after this body has rotten away. After all my blood ties are gone, I'm going to continue living as a spirit and then reincarnate again and have, the continuation of those ties, hopefully. And that's why they say before, because we have lived other lives, during, because we have this life right now, and after, because we will continue to live other lives. Furthermore, they're going to say there are two kinds of families then, along the same lines that we've been talking here. Families through spiritual ties and families through bodily ties. In the first case, these ties are durable. So the spiritual ties are durable and strengthened with purification, perpetuating in the spiritual worlds by means of the various migrations of the soul. We perpetuate these spiritual ties in the incarnation and after as well. Where? Well, up there, and when we reincarnate again, and when the spiritual world again, and then reincarnate again. So we always perpetuating these things. But the bodily ties, like I said, the blood ties, only bound by blood, are as fragile as the physical body itself, extinguishing with them, and in many instances dissolving morally even in the actual existence. What does that mean? Well, that means that these ties are as fragile as the body itself. Why? Because if I happen, hopefully not, to pass away today, the bodily tie, the blood tie is gone. It's as fragile as the body. But they add something else here that's important for us to realize too. In many instances, dissolve morally, even in the actual existence, even in the present life. How? When we see the relaxation of family ties, when we see the severing or the severance of family ties, even within the same incarnation, because of an inability to forgive, to love, to express mercy, benevolence, and indulgence. Don't we have cases like this where somebody says, from now on, forget that you're my son. From now on, I'm no longer your father. Forget that I'm alive. I'm cutting all ties with you for one reason or another. So the bodily ties there, the physical ties, in a sense, dissolve morally, even in the same existence, when we have these rifts, when we have this, like I said, the tearing of these family ties, morally speaking, even in the same existence, because people can't, like I said, can't forgive, can't love. And it's hard because, again, if we're putting former enemies within the same roof, there's a lot of material, there's a lot of unsurfaced content that can impact how we behave and how we see each other. But the spiritual ties, those are the ones, the spiritual ties are the ones that remain after we pass on. So the commandment, honor your father and your mother, is an inference from the general laws of charity and love towards one's fellow beings, seeing that those who do not love their mother and father cannot then love their fellow creatures. That's it. Look how beautiful that is. It's an inference from the law of charity and the law of love. Charity here, thinking of, acts of gratitude, acts of forgiveness, acts of even thoughts, sending a loving thought to our parents. Because again, now I'm talking from the son position, the position of a son, right? To my parents, honoring my parents, seeing that those who do not love their parents, who do not honor their parents, cannot love their fellow creatures. How can I go outside my own house and try to be as charitable as I can there, but inside my own house, I'm a tyrant? Inside my own house, I can't honor my parents. I can't honor my children. I can't honor my wife. I can't honor people who live close to me. Where's the deep meaning of charity there? If we're only doing it for the other person. Oh, because sometimes it's easy. Yeah, of course it's easier. A lot of the times we were surrounded by people that we have had trouble in the past. Again, to use an euphemism here. But we must look first inside our own house, our own, the four roofs, the four walls and the roof that we have, and then start there before we try to even go out. This duty naturally extends to those who take the place of a mother or a father, and whose merit is much greater because their devotion has nothing of obligation. Here they're talking about the merits of raising children, of being a mother, of being a father. Let's say father especially today because it's Father's Day. Of being a father when they have no merit because there's no biological tie there. How? Step parents, or grandparents that the biological tie is a little more distant, but they raise children, they raise those kids, they raise those people as if they're their own sons and daughters, or the uncle or the aunt or the neighbor, who knows, the friend. And it's saying the merit is much greater because there's no obligation. My children who were born from me and my wife, we have that obligation. But if somebody ends up raising them and they have no ties, their merit is even greater because there was no biological connection there, or the biological connection was fewer. So I like this part because it's talking about, like I said, the step parents, the grandparents, or all those people who are not necessarily the biological mother and father and have a lot of merit. And to honor the parents here, they're going to say, consists in not only showing respect, but also helping them in their needs, offering them rest in their old age, and surrounding them with care, just as they themselves did for us during our infancy. So it's surrounding them with care, is to show, like I said, do charitable acts, show love. And there's this idea here of helping them in their needs, offering them everything they offered us. And if somebody says, oh, but I didn't grow up with the best parents, so if I offer what they offer me, they're going to be in rough waters. Well, then offer something different. Then change the music there, change the tone, change the cycle, break that cycle. If it was a cycle of trauma, cycle of abuse, now that you are knowing all these things, now that you are having awareness of how important our acts are in this life, honoring our parents is so important, then you can honor them differently, show them the love maybe they were not able to show you. And for those who have had loving parents, like I have been blessed to have, you honor them by showing them love as well, taking care of them, being appreciative of them. And that's why I love that they bring this idea of also in the same book of gratitude. And before I show what they say about that, I wanted to bring Joanna de Angelis now. Usually my talks I like to bring a lot of different authors and a lot of different sources, just a parenthesis here, because some authors will speak more to the hearts of someone else, and I like that one, let me get that book. And you can get the book, already help Spirit to Center, help yourself as well. So I like to bring a lot of different source material for these talks. And this one is from the Spirit author Joanna de Angelis, Psychograph by Divaldo, and she's gonna say, no one is born grateful. Neither does one obtain gratitude in a leap. One learns gratitude through its practice, which must be initiated within the family, the society in miniature, where affection expresses itself naturally. So she's saying that no one is born grateful. Of course, gratitude is an elevated sentiment, and nobody's born like that. We are born simple and ignorant. We are born in a way that we are progressing every time through our mistakes, through learning, through these experiences. So we learn gratitude by doing small acts, little by little. And she says, well, try to initiate in the family, which is this society in miniature. And she says, where affection expresses itself naturally, because going back to what I mentioned, a lot of the times in families, we have congenial spirits. So the affection is already there. You already love that person. You already have an affection towards that person, even if you don't have a lot of time with them, even if you don't live with them anymore, and you can have that. So start there, start expressing gratitude there. And she says the family is not only the domestic grouping, but also the reunion of incarnated spirits with a pre-established evolutionary program. Like I mentioned before, it's a pre-established evolutionary program because nothing happens by chance or by accident. It's this reunion of these spirits for a specific reason. And if we talk in general terms here, the reason is to progress. That's it. It's to progress. Some will have to work more on patience, on tolerance, on being less selfish, less prideful. Others will have to work more on forgiveness, on benevolence. Whichever the case may be, we are all here to progress, and families are meant for that. That's why we reincarnate in a certain family, and for those of us who build our families as well, we also have that pre-established evolutionary program so we can all progress. But what is the opposite of gratitude? Ingratitude. And that's a result of selfishness, according to the gospel, according to Spiritism. Direct result of selfishness, which is what? When we remember the relaxation of family ties, a relapse into selfishness. So it goes back to that. This idea that selfishness is at the bottom of ingratitude. It's at the bottom of it's something that happens when we have the relaxation of family times, when we're not honoring our parents. And I like that they put this here. Remember that God will ask every mother and father, what have you done with the child which was entrusted to you? That's it. For those of us who are parents already, this is the question we're going to have to answer to God. This is the question we're going to have to answer when we discarnate. What have we done with the child that was entrusted to us? And we can even revert the question here as well. In the role of children, in the role of someone's son or daughter, what have we done with the father and the mother that was entrusted to us too, that we have received as this blessed opportunity to mend broken ties and to create new ones? What have we done with that opportunity? How have we honored our parents? Remembering that God never gives anyone a trial superior to the strength of the person who has asked for it. He only permits those tests which can be fulfilled. Therefore, if this does not happen, it is not for lack of possibilities, but for lack of willpower. This one is a punch in the gut to some extent, because we may have thought to ourselves, like, this is too much. I can't deal with that person. I can't mend this relationship. There's no way, it's gone. I'll have other reincarnations. I'll try again next time. I'll roll the dice on another existence. No. We don't know what the future brings. We don't even know how much effort it took for us to be here right now within this family that we have. We don't know. May have been decades of planning, may have been centuries of planning and waiting to be able to reincarnate in this family, to be able to reincarnate with the parents that we have, again, for those of us who are parents, with the children that we have as well now. We don't know how long it's going to be the next time. Who knows? So the best time is now. The best opportunity is now. Always remembering what it's saying there. We don't receive something that we can't fulfill, because God is infinitely just and fair and loving. If God gave me something that I cannot withstand, he would be unfair. But if God knows me, because I'm his children, I'm one of his sons, if he knows me, he knows what I can and what I can't take. So we must trust that whenever we're feeling overwhelmed by a sense of powerlessness, remembering this: God never gives anyone a trial superior to the strength that we have already. Not the one that we will one day have. The strength that we already have. And families tie very well into this, because, like I said, a lot of the times we may be thinking to ourselves that it is too much when it's not. Between Heaven and Earth, again, same book that I brought already, they're going to say that we are all connected to the law of rebirth as an inalienable condition of progress. We tackle multiple experiences and we recapitulate them as many times as needed on our grand journey to God. It's a condition to our progress. We must reincarnate. Right now, billions of years in the future, who knows? We will not need to reincarnate anymore when we become evolved spirits, when we go through the depuration of our souls. But right now we do need to reincarnate. That's why we're here. That's why you're listening to me. That's why I'm able to speak right now, because I'm in a material body and you're in a material body listening to me. Those who are incarnated, the discarnated, have had bodies and will have them again. So we are connected through this. We have had different families. We have had other families, perhaps, maybe the same people, but in different labels. And we'll have other families again. And in the end, it's beautiful to think that throughout many, many reincarnations, we have accumulated all these friends, all these family members who were families at that time, all these spirits that are together with us in this grand journey to God, as they're saying there. And we're gonna have to recapitulate, meaning go over and over as many times as needed. Meaning if I don't mend what I have to mend with a certain person right now, that I came here to mend something with them, oh, I'll leave it to the next time, next reincarnation. Well, we don't know how long it's gonna be, like I said before. But if it needs to be done, because it does, it will happen again, maybe too long in the future. But it will happen again, and then what will I do then? So we need to understand the power of, like they said before, the willpower, this idea of free will and making use of our time right now, because we're all progressing. If we're going to go slower or quicker, it's going to depend on us and on us only. Now, there's this book here, Missionaries of Light, that has a great, and I'm not going to give the full story because one, we don't have time, and two, I would like you guys to read it. Chapter 13, there's this case of Segismundo, which is a classic case in spirit talks and studies and everything, because the author André Luiz followed this group of spirits who are trying to help. I'm going to try to give you the brief version here. Trying to help this spirit named Segismundo to reincarnate in a certain family. The family is the one drawn on the back there. So there's the father and the mother, Adelino and Raquel, and the son is John. And Segismundo, the spirit who wants to reincarnate, I'm not going to spoil too much. Let's say he did a great evil to Adelino and Raquel, and now he wants to make amends. He wants to, atone for that. He wants to expiate that. So he wants to reincarnate as their son so they can learn the law of love together. But there's a big resistance there because Adelino, specifically Adelino, the father, has very vivid memories when he's dreaming and all these things that he sees him as an enemy because he was an enemy before. And then he's having trouble accepting him as their second child or even like coming close to him. So the spirits come, and again, I said I'm not going to extend too much here. The spirits come and they help these spirits, the family, kind of accept that Segismundo will reincarnate as their second child. And it's very beautiful. It's very touching. So that's why I said I want you guys to read it, Missionaries of Light. This one specifically on chapter 13, because the way they go about it is just, it's gonna bring tears to your eyes as you read it, and you see how the spirituality is always helping, is always working to help us as well, and goes straight into this idea of honoring our parents and understanding the opportunity that we have to be here today. And in the Spirit's book, question 385, they're gonna mention something that is very interesting for a Spirit's book in a way, because they're gonna say, well, what happens that sometimes children or teenagers, when they leave those years, they become someone else completely different. And I don't have teenagers yet. My sons are almost 7 and almost 3, so 6 and 2. But I in my professional life, I deal with teenagers mostly, and I know it's not easy for those who have teenagers there, or those who can remember your teen years. You're gonna remember it's not always easy. So what happens then when we become teenagers and sometimes our personality changes? We have these things, or we go into adulthood, everything changes. They're gonna say, the spirit regaining possession of himself shows himself such as he was before his incarnation. You know not the secrets hidden under the seeming innocence of children. You know neither what they are, nor what they have been, nor what they will be. And nevertheless you love and cherish them as though they were a part of yourselves, and to such a degree that the love of a mother for her children is reputed to be the greatest love that one being can have for one another. In other words, as the spirit regains possession, basically possession of himself, in the sense that he becomes fully connected to that body, then all these things may come again, all these like inclinations, all these things that let's say bad inclinations they had in different lives, because they already come with a baggage. Remember, the child that you have there is a spirit that has lived many different lives already. So it already comes with a baggage of good and bad things. So a lot of those bad things, sometimes good too, of course, but the bad things that the one they're saying here can come to the surface as they transition. And that's why they're saying you don't know what the secrets hidden under the seeming innocence of children. And they continue here in the answer saying, spirits only enter into corporeal life in order to effect their improvement, their self-amelioration. The weakness of corporeal youth tends to render them more pliable, more amenable to the counsels of those whose experience should aid their progress. This reformation constitutes the duty confided by God to those who assume the parental relation, a sacred mission of which parents will have to render a solemn account to God. Spirit, we only enter into corporeal existence for our own improvement. But the weakness, they say there, the weakness of corporeal youth, when they're babies, when they're children, when they are teenagers as well, makes them more pliable to the experience of the parents who have lived more than them, obviously, in that life at least. And then that's where the duty comes as parents, for us who are parents now, to educate them, to provide them with the best resources possible, provide them with the best, showing them the best path, the best habits, and showing our best selves as well to them, because children copy everything we do. Doesn't matter if we say don't do that and we do that, they're gonna do it too. So it's a sacred mission that will have to answer to him. And to end here, the last one I wanted to bring is The Consoler. This is a book by the Spirit Emmanuel, psychographed by Chico. It's questions and answers. And question 108 is going to be, what is the most elevated basis for a sound moral education? Within the sacred institution of the family, the basis of all education is to provide a religious foundation along with the example of fulfilling the highest duties of life. But by religious foundation, meaning everything that truly matters, everything, not just the traditions or rituals or empty prayers or things like that, the actual things that we must exercise. That is why the home plays such an important part in the edification of humankind, and why the mission of women, they're saying here women, is so significant before the divine law. And that's why. And we can even extend, of course, to fathers as well. So the mission of the parents, hence why we must honor our parents. And those who are parents, honor your children as well. Honor your children as well. So honoring our parents, we're going to have all those things that we already saw in the Bible. And that's why the home plays such an important role in the edification of society, because we're not going to have a better society if we don't have better homes. Period. Starts in the home, and then it expands to the greater environment, which is the society as a whole. And with that, I want to leave some space for comments and questions and stuff. So I want to wish everyone a blessed week, and I'm going to stop talking. I want to hear you guys a little bit.
Thank you, Yuri. Hey guys, any questions, comments?
The only thing, Marcio, is that I'm going to ask if anybody has a question or comment, come closer, because I can't hear all the way from back there.
Okay.
So maybe stand up, come closer here. Where you are right now, Marcio, I can hear, for instance.
No.
Or speak loud.
I will make a question, then maybe they will get out of the shining. On the reincarnation of Segismundo, right? There's a lot of examples how it happens. And we know the importance of the body to the soul, because the body is instrument of the soul, right? Through the genetics and the biological part of it, we know that we inherit from father and mother all the genes that will make the body that we are living now as instrument of the soul. Emmanuel said that we inherit tendencies to develop qualities. But can you explore a little bit this comment of Emmanuel related to the biological part of the body?
Absolutely, and it's a great one. And nowadays we have the field of epigenetics, which is amazing. It talks about different experiences we have in life expressing different genes. And so when we inherit those genes, and again, I wanna point this again, everything happens for a reason. So when we are inheriting certain genes, we are also inheriting certain tendencies that may or may not be expressed. We have genes that I'll give an example. We have genes that make people more susceptible to become substance use addicts, may become more susceptible to become addicted. So that doesn't mean that if I have, let's say, a father who is a substance user and I'm going to inherit a gene that's going to make me more susceptible, that I'll necessarily become that. But we have, even in the whole, like you said, the body as an instrument, there is a wisdom behind which genes are gonna play a role in whatever mission I have. Because I may have chosen to undergo a very difficult trial with a certain disorder or a certain disease or a certain problem of the body that my parents or one of them may have had, and I'm gonna inherit that. And that's how it, like, these things are expressed. So we don't we're always going according, or at least the body that we have is going according to the things that we must need to do to progress. And again, I mentioned free will. So free will is the one that makes a difference here. So if I do have, let's say, a gene that I inherited that's gonna make me more likely to have let's say lung cancer, just an example here, right? My let's say 3 generations of my family have had lung cancer, and I inherit that gene that makes me have a bigger propensity for lung cancer. But all my previous, family members have smoked, and I never put any cigarettes or anything in my life. I'm lowering that chance, and maybe if that's not part of my reincarnatory plan to have lung cancer, I'm not gonna have that. So I can change as well how these genes are expressed based on my choice, because of course there's the free will behind that.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys, nobody wanna? Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for all your explanation. Very good example. I have a question. What you can say about like extended relationship of sons that come and just leave 1 or 2 or 3 days and then come back to the son? So what kind of a relationship, or what kind of proof, or we can have, like, what do you know about it, like those kind of relationship of sons that come, they were born, or the pregnancy was okay, but they live just 1 or 2 or 3 days. So
I mean, like the discarnate as newborns, basically.
right, yeah.
So yeah, it's a great question, and it's good to highlight that as well. I have a younger brother who's 5 years younger than me, and I had a middle brother who passed 1 month into his life. So a lot of the times they're gonna say, in different spirit literatures that, and I want to say this again, every case is unique, okay? But some examples of why that may happen. A lot of the times what happens is the spirit, for instance, the spirit has had a certain existence, and let's say that existence was cut short. You can give an example, for instance, let's say by suicide. They cut that existence short, but they still had some more to live, so they may reincarnate in a new one with a family that needs to undergo or has asked to undergo such difficulty of losing a child. And the spirit, when reincarnates, they only go in that specific part that they needed to undergo, that they didn't finish here. And because, let's say in this example of the suicide, they squandered that opportunity to live more when they need it, so they're gonna get that the resulting difference in this life, and then they discarnate as babies. A lot of the times this happen. There's books by Ivone Pereira that talk about this too, that she psychographed. And again, each case is unique. I don't want to say that this happened. Please don't think that every case is like this, but this is an example that people are often not aware that can happen, Because if the spirits, for instance, by suicide, cut their life short, they may come in a new life, and that life may be very, very short. And it's a way to expiate the problem that they created all the way back then. And then again, God is just and fair and kind. So because we can ask, oh, what about the parents? They're gonna suffer so much, because who wants to? My parents underwent that, you know. Who wants to lose a child is like right after they were born? Nobody. But again, everything happens for a reason.
One more is coming here.
No, I see.
Considering today is Father's Day, and you talk a lot about honoring our parents, what do you can tell us as an inspiration for the ones that have the fathers or mothers with some kind of diseases like Alzheimer and senile dementias? Because I know that it's very hard to take care of them, and sometimes the love is become kind of difficult for everybody as a human here, right? What kind of inspiration do you have for us?
I don't know if I have an inspiration necessarily. I don't think I have that power, but I can tell you that when we're talking about gratitude, when we're talking about honoring our parents, it's literally giving the best that we can all the time. So if they have Alzheimer's, let's say they can't recognize you, it's such a hard condition to go through. Or like you said, dementia, they don't remember who you are. They're having all these behavioral issues and everything like that. Just giving them the love and the patience and the indulgence for their mistakes, because they may become aggressive towards you. They may say things that they don't truly really mean, but it's just the deterioration of the physical body. So being patient with them, for providing them with love and being there for them even through the difficult time, because those two conditions that you mentioned are very, very challenging. And to honor your parents there is just, in a very simple way, not to abandon them. If I can sum it up in one sentence, is just not to abandon them. Provide them with all the love that you can, and all the, like I said, the care, the patience, because they're going to need a lot of patience, and through these small acts of love, because in the end, remember, somebody's watching us, and we're always being watched. And in the end, we're gonna be asked, what have you done with the parents that I gave you? What have you done with the parents that when they needed you the most, what did you do? When they were going through that, what did you do? How did you act? That's the question I always carry with myself, and I recommend for everyone to carry that as well. And just, again, give the best that you can. Remember, we're not perfect, in the sense that we will make mistakes, but we learn and we move on, and we just provide them with the best always.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No, please.
I'm gonna remove my mask. I think you're gonna be safe in Florida, but people here, I'm not sure. So you mentioned about how family ties are important, and we're gonna fall behind or fall back on selfishness. My question is I want to know your opinion. If the world is evolving, the planet itself, if humanity is evolved, we're gonna leave expiation, go to next stage. So we're all evolving, but seems to me the family ties are not evolving. On my perception, family ties are going backwards for the new generations that have less ties than we had, than probably our parents. So what's your opinion about the family ties and the importance for the future if we all evolving, but to me, family ties are not evolving?
Yeah, very, very up-to-date question. I think that, and again, remember the Spirit's book, 1857. So we're talking almost 200 years ago, when family relations, at least outwardly, were different than what they are now. One thing is for sure, we are evolving as humans. We're evolving as planets, as a planet as well, like you said, moving from trials and expiations to a world of regeneration, and therefore everybody that is not able um, to step up, literally, like their spiritual progress is gonna have to go somewhere else to do it. So even if things sometimes, and this goes to everything, your question is excellent about family ties, because a lot of the times we may look around and we may see the relaxation of family ties. And that's why, yes, a lot of the times we are seeing the relaxation of family ties, and we're having selfishness being, spread through social media, being spread, and people are only thinking about themselves. And there is a lot of that. Also remembering that in this transitional period, as we have even in books that were written 100 years ago, already talking about how for a lot of the spirits that are incarnating now, this is their last chance to literally improve. So there's a lot of spirits that are reincarnating, that are coming with these tendencies, that are coming with these things they need to work on, and if they're not working on them, and unfortunately a lot of them are not, it seems, then they're gonna be falling behind. So the relaxation of family ties will eventually lead to selfishness, which we're already seeing. I do think that there's a difference now as well in the configuration of these family ties, or the way we see them, because even with things as how we educate our children has changed drastically in only 30 years. Imagine like 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So there are some things that have improved, but others it doesn't seem they have improved. The only consolation we have is that there is a higher being behind everything. So we must have faith that, and just do our best. That's the thing. We can't really change the whole world, but I can change how I treat my kids, my wife, my parents, and that's what I'm gonna focus on.
One more, you.
Yuri.
Hello.
So about kids being sort of a mission, divine mission for parents, vice versa. How do you determine uh, the number of kids you should aspire to have? I'm a father to one son for now. And we talk about more.
So you know your wife?
Huh?
We know your wife, so
Yeah.
maybe more than one.
Well, yeah. So how do you make that decision based on, okay, desire versus it's part of your life mission, or are those interconnected? And how to differentiate, to best make a decision based on what's best for the family as a whole?
Well, if you have an answer, you let me know too, because I don't know. It is truly, truly very individual, and I say individual in the sense that it's very unique to each case. And that's, I mean, that's something I talk to my wife too. I have two kids, and we're like, oh, the third one, no, no, no. But what if, we have such, we have such, we have an amazing life here. I'm very blessed with the life that I have and the children that I have. So why not bring a third spirit into say, hey, like here's a great life for you. But it's very, it's very individual, the choice, and it truly, in the end, the best thing for you in that regard is try to connect yourself with the higher spirits as much as you can through prayer, through doing like good deeds and becoming harmonized as a family, because these answers will come the same way they came for your first child. Because you at some point you didn't have any children, and that at some point you decide, you know what, let's have a child. How did that come about? Intuition, previous planning. So whatever it's you already planned and you don't know, because we have the veil of forgetfulness, so we don't remember everything we planned. It's likely gonna happen. So if you plan three more, man, you're gonna have four children pretty soon. But maybe you plan just one. We don't know. It's impossible to determine. And again, you do have to look into more practical things, as well as where you are, what conditions of life you have, and all of those things, instead of just saying, oh, let me bring 20 children into this world, but then you can't give attention to any of them properly. or provide for them financially, etc. So it's a very individual, it's a very unique case by case scenario. But the best thing you can do, honestly, is just, like I said, connect yourself with the higher spirits. There is a divine providence behind everything. There is divine planning. There is all these things that we are more often than not aware that has happened, and it is happening still. But the best thing we can do is lift our thoughts, raise, that vibration through prayer, through doing the good deeds, to trying to have a very peaceful home environment, so the good spirits can help us too, and say, hey, there's this other one that you said you're gonna have as your second child. You guys maybe should come close together. Think about that, etc. So these things are gonna come almost as an intuition. If you should have another one, or maybe two or three, or who knows, maybe you're gonna be brave enough to have 4 or 5.
All right, Yuri. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time being with us. And thank you for sharing all your thoughts and the way that you answer our questions. Thank you so much, Yuri. And I will invite you to make our final prayer.
Okay, sure. All right. So let's all close our eyes. Sit comfortably in the chair. Let's take a deep breath in and deep breath out. Let us all elevate our thoughts as one to God, our Creator, our dear Father in heaven, asking for His grace, asking for His help through all the Spirit mentors and all the Spirit guides that we have helping us every single day. Let us thank Jesus, the way, the truth, the life, our older brother, our friend, who is always with us, never abandoning us. Let us all thank all the spirits of this world, praying for them, sending a loving thought to all of those who are suffering in many different ways. Those who are suffering in prisons, those who are suffering in hospitals, those who are suffering on the streets. Let us send a loving thought to all of them, a consolation, so they know that they are loved too, and they may have strength in their trials. Let us all send another loving thought to our family members, to our fathers, our mothers, our grandparents, to our sons, our daughters, our brothers and our sisters, and all of those who are dear to us in our hearts, regardless of their titles. Let us all send a thought of gratitude too to all the spirits and everyone who is with us on this journey here on earth in this great time of our life. And so be it.
So be it. Yuri, one more time, thank you so much for your day today. I know when you're always being with Marisa, give her a big hug, okay? I miss you guys.
I will. We miss you too, Marcio. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Bye. Have a great Happy Father's Day for you.
Happy Father's Day to all of you, and we'll see you guys hopefully in the future. Thanks for those who are watching us online too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.